Hey everyone! Doing it slightly differently today. I'm just getting it all set up on TikTok and then we will get started. Right, we are going through paper one. What might be coming up? I'm just making sure I've got everything sorted. Oh, and I need to shuffle over a bit for Instagram. Alright, let me check what YouTube can see. And I think, oh wait, no, I need to go over here. My spatial awareness is awful. So I'm just like, where do I need to sit to be in the centre? I think I'm pretty much in the centre now. This will work, I think. Right, this is going to be for A-level, and it is AQA A-level specifically. I'm just putting it into my TikTok. So paper 1, 2025, what to expect. There we go. And let me flip that around on my phone. And that's TikTok ready up there. Oh, hang on, I'm going to need to move that a little bit. Which then, is that going to work? Yeah, I think that works. Right, so, yeah, it is A-level, not GCSE. So if you are here for GCSE, that is not going to be the one today, I'm afraid. Just going to make sure it's all sorted before I start. Okay, cool. Right, so what I'm going through today is actually a bit of a preview of one of the videos I've got coming up on YouTube very, very soon. So what I've done is I've analysed all of the POTS papers. You might have seen that I talked about this last year. You might not have done, because you might be year 12. But last year I analysed all of the AQA papers, so every single past paper that's come up. And I've now added in the 2024 to that as well. And I'm going to use that for one of my YouTube videos that are coming up. But as I said, I'm going to share some of the insights with you now. Because basically what I did was look for patterns of which topics come up the most on each paper. But today I'm just going to talk about paper 1. So which topics come up the most? Which topics came up a lot in 2024 and a little bit in 2023 and therefore haven't come up for a while, and which things tend to always come up all the time. Now, this is not predictions. I do want to clarify that doesn't mean that what I'm sharing with you is a prediction of what is going to be on paper 1 for 2025 AQA. It's basically just analysis and patterns that I've spotted, and then I'd say what my recommendations were if I was doing my A-levels, what would I do with that information? So as I said, I'm going to do a whole YouTube video on this, but today I'm just going to share a little preview of some of my findings, and because it's one where I'm looking at the screen, I can answer some questions as well. So key things then, let me just go through. I'm going to start by saying what are the most commonly assessed paper 1 topics for AQA A-level. Out of interest, what do you think it is? So I'm going to have a look to see, what do you all think is the most commonly assessed topic? Also, someone said, is this live going to be uploaded? Yes, so these lives do get saved on my Instagram and on my YouTube channel. So I can see immunity, biological molecules, immunity proteins, that's what people are saying. Let's see, what are Instagram saying? Cell membranes, enzymes, proteins. Okay, so from my analysis, here are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 most commonly assessed topics. Number 1 is carbohydrates and proteins. I haven't actually got my percentages written down here. I probably should have got that spreadsheet open, but I'll say it for the YouTube channel. They have come up, I think it was 88% of the time, those two have been assessed. Immunity, loads of you did say on TikTok that immunity, and I saw some of you say that on Instagram and YouTube. So yeah, immunity is another big one. That featured heavily in 2023. Didn't come up as much in 2024, but there was loads of immunity in 2023, but also in terms of since 2015 is a really commonly assessed one. Gas exchange is another popular topic. Mass transport is as well, but that's because that's actually a big chunk of the spec, because you have mass transport in animals and mass transport in plants, and then genetic diversity as well. So those topics are the most commonly assessed topics. So my first recommendation would be carbohydrates, proteins, immunity, gas exchange, mass transport, and genetic diversity. Yes, I realise I've just listed a lot of topics there, so it does actually cover a lot of the spec already. But those 6, thank you so much for the person that wrote that down on Instagram. That's very helpful. Those 6 topics, I would make sure you know them inside out. We don't know if they're definitely coming up this year because there's no way to actually know that without cheating, which obviously no one is going to do, are they? But what we do know is they're commonly assessed. So it'd be wise to make sure that you revise those thoroughly if they are the ones that commonly get assessed, because the chances are at least one of those is going to come up in detail. Okay, so the next thing is, what are some of the big important topics from paper 1 that weren't assessed in 2024 to 2024? So in 2024, either not very much or not at all. And these ones I'd say are key, especially if there's an overlap between commonly assessed and didn't really feature much last year. I'm, like I said at the start, if you've only joined in, these are not predictions, but because these didn't come up last year, there's no guarantee that it means they're coming up this year. But if it was me sitting paper 1, I would definitely make sure I was comfortable on these topics. So, mass transport in plants, that did not come up in 2024. And as I said previously, mass transport is one of the most commonly assessed topics. And there was a little bit on the papers to do with the aorta, but mass transport in plants didn't come up at all. So that is things like transpiration, the cohesion tension theory, translocation in plants. That didn't come up last year. It's one of the most commonly assessed topics. So if it was me, I'd be revising that. Also, hemoglobin, so the oxy-hemoglobin dissociation curves and the cardiac cycle, those didn't come up last year either. So that's also mass transport. Those would be topics that I'd make sure I was 100% comfortable on, because one or the other is quite likely to come up. Not a prediction, it's just pointing out patterns and how you can use those patterns usefully. And I am going to keep saying that over and over again. These are not predictions, it's pattern spottings to help maybe just tailor your revision, but don't ignore everything else. Okay, next, DNA, RNA, DNA replication. So all of that from topic 4 and also a bit from topic 1 didn't come up last year. So if it was me, I'd make sure I know the structure of DNA and RNA in detail. I know DNA replication, maybe the Michelson style experiment as well. And oh, actually, that is the 3. I've already said it now. So those 3, that is topic 1, not topic 4. So DNA, RNA, DNA replication didn't come up. And that's a fundamental topic. So either paper 1, maybe paper 3, possible. Next one is a big one. So we did have mitosis come up in 2024. Meiosis didn't come up at all in 2024. So for me, that would say I should make sure I know meiosis inside out. Chromosome mutations hasn't come up for a long time as well. Gene mutations did come up, and it has, but chromosome mutations hasn't come up in a while, nor has meiosis. Well, meiosis didn't come up last year. I can see a few questions flashing, but as I'm talking so much, I'm not reading them. Yes, this is going to be turned into a proper YouTube video. This is just me chatting to you now. It is for AQA A-level biology. There is going to be like a proper polished version of this on YouTube. I think I'm filming it next week, so it'll probably go up. I think it's the 5th of March. I've got it scheduled in my diary that I'm going to post that one. So it will be coming up. And I will then do it for paper 2 and paper 3 as well. But this is just to give you a bit of an insight so you can start planning your long-term revision as well. Okay, back to the list. So I said meiosis, chromosome mutations. I mean, that one doesn't really get assessed that much because it's such a small bit of the spec, but it's just worth being aware of. It hasn't come up in a while. Meiosis didn't come up last year, mitosis did. So for me, I would still make sure I revise mitosis because that's a really common one that does get assessed, but I'd make sure I know meiosis inside out because that didn't come up last year. Translocation, yeah, so in terms of transport and plants, yeah, that's another one that I said earlier on. You might have only just joined the video. Right, gas exchange. That's the next one on my list. Gas exchange did get mentioned in humans in 2024, but it didn't come up for fish or terrestrial insects. And I don't think that's come up for a while, in a lot of detail at least anyway. So gas exchange is a really common topic to come up. A tiny bit came up on humans. I can't remember what it was now. Like I said, it'll all be in more detail in the YouTube video. But gas exchange in fish and terrestrial insects definitely didn't come up last year. Now, that doesn't mean it's definitely coming up this year. Again, I'm just saying these are patterns that I've noticed. You might want to use it to help inform your revision, because if that's a topic you find hard, don't avoid it, because maybe it'll come up. But none of these are predictions. It's just sharing my findings. Right, then, from topic 4, DNA, genes and chromosomes. That's the very first bit of topic 4, when you have to know about how eukaryotic DNA is organised into the chromosomes, like wrapped around histone proteins, and knowing about prokaryotic DNA, like the circular DNA, and genetic code. So things like universal, degenerate, non-overlapping. That didn't feature last year. Some of these, by the way, just to point out, when I say they didn't feature, they weren't explicit exam questions, but some of these topics you could argue, well, they did feature because it was relevant to the essay, because the essay was on phosphate ions. So that covers DNA, that covers RNA. So some of these, just bear in mind, they weren't explicit questions, but some of them were relevant for the essay. So that could be how AQA ticks it off that it was assessed last year, which is also why I say don't use this as a crib sheet of I only need to revise this. It's just pattern spotting, which sometimes helps. Sometimes it doesn't really do a lot. And then is immunity. So this, as I said, this was assessed a lot in 2023. I think I did the percentage video on this, which is actually already on YouTube, because last year I posted my past paper analysis for up to date to 2023. And I think I shared what percentage of the 2023 paper had been immunity, and it was huge. And this was also assessed last year in the in the paper 3. So immunity was assessed last year in paper 3, but not in paper 1. So give or take, we don't know. That could be 1, because it's often a topic that people find hard, but you never know. So those are the big topics that weren't assessed last year. Maths and practicals. Let's talk maths and practicals. So for the maths and practicals, the ones that came up in paper 1 for 2024 were enzymes and microscopy. Now, it wasn't literally the mitosis root tip squash experiment. So it wasn't that literal. So I thought I could hear a child screaming. You probably know I've got 2 4-year-olds. I was like, oh, is that a child scream? But it's someone else's child, not mine. Microscopy, back to it. It wasn't the mitosis root tip squash experiment, but there were questions about microscopes, which actually is just a general pointer for you. Microscopy, as in just knowing about microscopes in general, is one of the most commonly assessed practical skills. So knowing things like why would it have to be a thin slice if you were creating a slide, why do you have to use a stain, knowing about resolution, magnification, because that's actually part of the theory as well as a required practical, it comes up a lot. So make sure you know your microscope skills. But as I said, that did come up last year. Enzymes came up last year as well. Math skills, everyone's favourite. I wonder, is it actually anyone's favourite? I mean, I hate to, I don't know what the word is without swearing, but I hate to poo-poo on maths. But it is so difficult in biology, and it's always worth hardly any marks for the amount of work you have to do. So anyway, math skills. If it is your favourite, I'd love to know, because good for you. I wish I was naturally good at maths, but I have to really work hard at it. But hopefully that gives you faith, because math skills doesn't come naturally to me. I've had to work so hard at math skills, and now I can do it. So you can as well. Putting in that effort, you can do it. It's just frustrating when it takes me ages to do, and then it's a couple of marks. Anyway, back to the math skills, what was relevant. Uncertainty. You might have seen me post this on TikTok and Instagram. Uncertainty is a math skill that I don't think was on the old spec, and they didn't assess it on the new spec that much until relatively recently. And there were some uncertainty questions that they did that students were quite good at, and then they put it up a notch and made it significantly more challenging, the uncertainty skills they did, and students didn't do well on it. And because of that, they have now every year gone for uncertainty, and they keep putting those questions in. And I think they're going to keep doing it until you finally conquer it. And the issue that students had this year was they didn't know what the difference was between a reading and a measurement, because they don't mean the same thing. So that is why I did the TikTok post and Instagram post explaining what's the difference between a reading and a measurement and how you would calculate uncertainty for both. I do actually already have an entire YouTube video going through what uncertainty is. So I can see someone on TikTok is like, what is uncertainty? So if you're there thinking, I have no idea what uncertainty is, then go over to that. I can see loads of you are saying you're very uncertain about uncertainty. Honestly, so was I until I made that YouTube video. And then I was like, oh, I actually understand a math skill, uncertainty. So go over, watch that. It goes through everything you need to know. As I said, it has come up a lot though. So they might think we'll give that a rest for a while, or they might think they're still doing really badly on it. Let's keep testing them in a slightly different way until they get it. Next is logarithms. Oh, hang on, there's a quick question. I don't understand why I have to multiply it by 2. That is if it's a measurement, because, I don't have a ruler. Imagine this is a ruler. If you were placing your ruler and you wanted to measure, like say, the width of my face, you've got an uncertainty on this end where you place your ruler and an uncertainty on this end where you place it. So there's 2 ends of uncertainty, so you have to times it by 2. Whereas if you're just using a measuring cylinder, you are just reading it off from one position. So there's only 1 point of uncertainty. And that's what we mean by reading off. There's 1 point where you're collecting the data and like there could be an uncertainty. Whereas if it's a measurement, that's when you have 2 points of uncertainty. But anyway, as I said, you've got the whole video on that to help. Logarithms. So logs is the next one. So logarithms, I do have a YouTube video on logs? I think I do, but I've definitely got a very old post on it somewhere on Instagram and YouTube. But I think I do have a logs video on YouTube, but that's more on the calculation side. So how you can turn raw data into log 10 values and how you can convert the log values back into raw data and why you would do that. But what they've started to do more recently is graphs, which don't just have the log like a y-axis that says this was times by log. It now actually is the log graph paper. And I've seen that twice. It might have been 2021 and 2023, I think. And what students didn't know was how you read off on the y-axis for log graphs. So I actually have a whole maths booklet that is I think it's almost finished now, and it's going to be coming out within the month. So if you do find math skills hard, the maths booklet covers every single A-level math skill. It talks you through what the math skill is, how you do it, model examples, and practice questions with the answers. So if you do struggle with the math skills, that will help you so much, particularly, like I said, some of these ones that haven't some of these ones that keep coming up, so log scales and the log graphs. The other math skill I wanted to mention was the dilution series or serial dilutions, because that links to 2 required practicals. It links to the osmosis one, where you have to create a range of different water potentials to put the plant tissue in. And then it also links to the required practical 11, where it's creating different concentrations of glucose to make your calibration curve. So dilution series comes up in 2 required practicals. It's also on the required techniques list that you need to know, and it comes up as a math skill. So I'd say make sure you are really solid on serial dilutions. And if you're not, I've got that on YouTube as well. So just type in Miss Estrick serial dilutions and you'll find my video there as well. I think that was everything from my list that I wanted to share for paper 1. As I said, this was just an informal chit chat about it because I've just done all of that finding. I think I wrote the script for that YouTube video 2 days ago, and I did the past paper analysis on Monday or Tuesday. I posted it on my Instagram. You might have seen it on my Instagram when I was working that out. So this was just me sharing some of those findings, but letting you know that I will be going through this in the YouTube video. So if you want a chance to like write it down and have that to help maybe schedule when you're going to revise everything, that should help. Right, what is the time? I can't see anything. Okay, it's 20 past. So I'm going to say a few minutes. I'll try and get open all the different platforms. So I actually am streaming simultaneously to YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. So let me see any questions that might be coming through. Random question. Apart from biology, what other subject do you like? So I did chemistry and geography for A level, and I did physics to AS. Geography was probably my favourite. I absolutely loved geography. I also loved chemistry. My mum was my chemistry teacher at A level. Absolutely loved chemistry, and I loved geography. Yeah, those are my favourites. Let's see. There was a request for epistasis. I do have a YouTube video on that, so if you can't wait, then you can have a look at that on YouTube. That might help. Let's see. Oh, and if you are interested, the YouTube video that's coming out on Sunday is to do with muscles, which in my like question boxes that I do on Instagram sometimes, one of the common questions I get is, what is your least favourite subject to teach? Muscles. I really do not enjoy teaching muscles. So I thought I need to learn to love muscles. So I made a new YouTube video based on exam feedback from the last couple of years and the mark schemes, which have become more specific. So it's a new YouTube video on neuromuscular junctions, sliding filament theory, fast and slow twitch fibers, and I include common exam questions, mark scheme, and mistakes that examiners keep pointing out that students are making. So that is coming on Sunday, so hopefully that will help. How do you avoid burnout and balancing all three subjects? You need to make sure you are scheduling in breaks so you can guilt-free relax. Everyone works differently. For me personally, I've always been a morning person, so I like to go to bed earlier. And even as a teenager, that was me, well, to an extent anyway. So I wouldn't ever work past like 9 or 9:30. I always did my work before then. So then from like 8, 9 onwards, I could relax. When it was exam times, I'd work a little bit later. But when I'd then schedule my study period, I'd make sure I'd schedule in breaks so I could guilt-free relax. Let's see, for students who've already planned out a revision schedule week to week, how should they use this knowledge to adapt that week-to-week revision schedule? Good questions. If you've already got a plan in place, what I'd say is have a look at your plan and see, have you definitely got scheduled in those commonly assessed topics and ones that haven't come up much? And when you are planning your revision, you should try and interlace it, which means learn this, then revise something different, then go back to that, and then do this. So you are repeatedly revising each topic, but interlacing it, not just saying, I'm just going to do topic 1, and then topic 2, then topic 3, because that then means by the time you get to the end, topic 1 was months ago and you've forgotten it all. So, yeah, try and have a look at your plan, make sure it's definitely included, and maybe you might want to allocate a bit more time to it if it's one you're not comfortable on, and make sure you definitely do lots of past paper questions. How to make a revision timetable so you can go over topics multiple times. I've actually done that for you. It's called my long-term revision planner on my website, and I've got it for AQA and OCR, I think. Yeah. I've also got a video on how to make YouTube videos. No, how to make revision timetables, but it's on YouTube. Do you do geography revision videos? Oh, I'm afraid I don't, because oh my gosh, it's now nearly 20 years since that can't be right. Is it 20 years since I did my A-levels? Oh my God, I think I'm having a bit of a reality check here. Yeah. Well, not quite, but almost. So no, I've not done geography in a long, long time now. Yeah, wow. Yeah, space repetition. I've got a video on space repetition as well. Right, that takes us to the end of today because I'm now just rambling absolute nonsense at you, and I'm sure you've got things to do. So I will do another one like this on paper 2 and paper 3. But as I said, look out for the actual YouTube video that I post on this as well. So hopefully you found that helpful. I know it was a completely different today to the usual ones where it's me on my iPad answering questions. I hope it helped. If you are new here, then welcome. You found Macestric Biology, all things biology for A-level and now also for GCSE. So I'm on TikTok, Instagram and YouTube, covering all the theory exam techniques, and I hope it helps you. But I'm going to leave it there for today. If you've only just joined or you joined partway through, the recording is saved on my YouTube channel and on my Instagram channel. So best of luck, everyone. And it's probably half term for you. Enjoy the rest of your half term, and I will see you next Thursday. Right, now I need to remember to turn all of this off because I don't know if you remember when